So hello and welcome to another video. God, am I excited for this one. It's the first time out since lockdown. It's Wednesday now and it's the first time we've had permission to get out and fish. You know, all part of the first phase of coming out of lockdown. So I don't want to bang on about that too much. I'm sure we're all sick to death of hearing about the ins and outs of this virus, what it's done to people, how it's affected us. But I am just so pleased to be out fishing. And behind me is Heron Lake. Yes, I've come back to Tony Humphrey's water on the Huntingdon racecourse. A couple of reasons. One of the reasons being is it's a small syndicate, especially on this back lake. There's only 7 swims. And as it stands at the moment, I'm the only person booked on until tomorrow. There's one other angler that's booked on tomorrow, and then coming into Friday, there's 6 people that's booked on. So, you know, I've got no worries about being here at all, and I'm staying away from them busy day tickets. Now, for bait and everything what we're going to do for this session, my opinion has already changed since arriving here, and I have come with an ample of bait. I've got about 12 kilo of boilie with me, I've got about 10 kilo of pellets, but I've also brought with me a lot of dog biscuits. The weather for the next few days is going to be quite intermittent. It's going to be up and down, so I was kind of thinking it's going to make things tricky for me, and if anything I think they're going to become harder to catch. It's a deep old water this. If you haven't watched my last video, it's in the description below. The link's there for the video if you want to go back to that and then come back to this one. It's entirely up to you. But anyway, it's a deep old lake this, and when you've got intermittent, you know, weather conditions like that, you know, the fish can be up and down in them levels, and in general it can be quite hard to catch them. But upon arriving, we've got the sun, a bit of cloud cover, so it is in and out, but the fish are all over on the surface at the minute. I've seen all sorts of fish even coming in right close, right down to these lily pads here. So without further ado, I'm going to stop waffling on and I'm going to start getting some floater gear ready and see if we can spank one quite early on, and then we'll have a bit of a catch up later on and talk about how we're going to go into this afternoon and this evening. I have come with a different approach. I'm not going to go all out on solid bags this time. I've brought the bait boat with me, but for now that's all I'm going to say, because I am so eager to get a line out there. Wish me luck. Well, good evening, and a lot has happened since I last spoke to you, and to be honest, it's not quite gone to plan. Upon arriving and seeing all them fish on the surface, I thought it was going to be easy pickings, let me tell you. But no, it really wasn't to be. I was putting plenty of mixers out there. I didn't put a rod in to begin with. I just thought I'd try and trickle a few in and keep trickling them in, see if I could get a few taken, but there really wasn't having it at all. The odd fish would come up and take one, but I persevered with it. I must have spent a good 3 hours or so, persevering with it. However, it wasn't time lost, it was time well spent in my opinion. I did eventually get the chance I was after, but unfortunately it was very short-lived. It cut me, that fish. And I'm fishing fairly strong for them. I'm using the Zig and Floater line, the Fox Trans Khaki. So to get cut off on that, I was absolutely wounded. Usually when I'm surface fishing, I go down to £10 hook links and things like that, so I really didn't expect that. But it is just one of them things, and after that, they just dissipated away, and I really couldn't get anything else going. So, like I said, it wasn't time wasted. If anything, it was time well spent, because I was able to see what patrol routes the carp was coming in on, and which leads me on to where I've positioned my rods. My right hand rod is actually fishing right down in this right hand margin, and it's well up on the shelf. It's fishing in 5 foot of water, that, and it is a lovely hard clay spot. But that's not the reason I've chose it. I've chose that area just because that's where the carp seem to come in. They patrol this reed margin here, and they come across in front of the lily pads. And Tony said to me, he says he often feeds the fish there, so it's got to be a known spot, that. So all I've sort of done is replicate how Tony would feed the fish. I've got the scoop and I've just scooped some bait in. Originally I put a solid bag on that, but that's just because I had one ready to go. I've actually swapped that over now. I'm fishing that on a lead clip system. I've got a 4-ounce lead on there, and I'm fishing a straight bottom bait on that because it's a lovely clean bottom. I don't want a pop-up sticking up, looking conspicuous or looking out of place to the rest of the free offerings. I much rather prefer a match the hatch, and I'd much rather a bottom bait or a wafter if I can get away with it. Now my left hand rod and my middle rod, they're fishing spots which I fished last time. It'd be stupid for me not to fish that reed line. I took so many fish off that reed line last time I was here. Only difference this time is I'm using the bait boat to achieve the similar sort of effect that I had with the solid bags. Last time I was fishing solid bags up to that reed line, and I was spodding over the top, so I was getting quite a wider spread of bait, but that was on purpose because I wasn't baiting heavily. But I have put a good couple of kilo in the hopper and sent that out there, and I'm on that spot. Now originally the middle rod, that was my left hand rod, and I just placed that with the boat for a couple of hours. I actually put that right in this left hand reed line. It was a place where I was watching the fish sort of come in and sit in the sun. So I thought it'd be worth it. I only went in with a light scratcher in a bait, and I thought that'd be worth a rod. But I have moved that now. I've moved that out into open water. I'm fishing at 14.5 wraps on that rod, and that's fishing in 22 foot of water. And it's worth mentioning I have come back half a wrap on the spod rod to make sure that I'm baiting up in the right area. And I'm fishing lead clip systems on both of them, 4-ounce leads. Now there is a bit of debris, especially on that reed line. There's like the odd little bit of scattered like bits of it's a bit like onion weed what's there, mixed with, there's the odd little strand of silkweed, so I have gone in on a pop-up rig on that. And out in that middle zone, I mean, you wouldn't expect it, but there's quite a lot of silkweed out there, and it's a good couple of inch long, so I've gone in on a pop-up rig on that. I'm using the LM94 on all three, which leads me on to the bait what I'm feeding. I'm using the 10mm and the 15mm, and I'm I'm bulking that out with the feed pellets which Tony feeds the fish here. You know, I said this before and I'll say it again, if Tony's feeding them fish on the pellets, you know, and they're used to picking them up, it'd be stupid for me not to use them. So that's my starting approach. You know, I might adjust things, I might adapt things. I mean, what I'm kind of expecting is that open water rod. I'm kind of expecting that to do well early morning and then nothing through the daytime. So what I might do is I might look at, you know, fishing one in the left-hand margin or something like that tomorrow, and just save that spot for a night spot. Just keep a bit of bait going on it. So effectively I've got 4 spots working for me. That's my plan of attack to begin with, and I'm feeling mega confident. I am surprised nothing's happened as of yet though, with the amount of fish that I've seen in this area, but it was obvious they wasn't really on the feed, so I'm not too disappointed. But now's the time that'll tell. I mean, if anything, I sort of predict a bite around 9 o'clock-ish if I was a betting man, but really I am waiting for first light. I think that's going to be the key to getting a bite. With late spring now as well, I know it's the first time out for all us anglers, but it is late spring now and everything has changed. I mean, it was last place I come to was here, and just seeing the surroundings around the lake, that's changed. The fish behaviour has totally changed. You know, they're sort of following each other now, so you do know that spawning's on the brain as well. So we have got it against us, you know, we've got our work cut out. I don't think it's going to be an easy session, in fact far from it. But we're here, I'm loving life, and I'll keep you posted no matter what happens. Hopefully you shall see me very shortly with a big fat smile and a carp in my hands. Well, good morning. I say morning, but we are approaching dinner time. It's just gone 11 o'clock now. And it's been very frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. I am starting to struggle. And to make matters worse is I've just lost a fish as well. Absolutely wounded. I mean, last night, if that's anything to go by, it really went quiet. I got a couple of liners just after speaking to you guys, and then, you know, I got a couple of liners just as it was getting dark, and then it just totally went dead. The lake just went into a mill pond. There was no wind. I didn't see anything showing through the night. So when I woke at 4 o'clock this morning, I was feeling pretty disheartened. But you know, I was up and I stayed up at 4 o'clock this morning, just in anticipation really, willing something to happen. But things have started to change now. It's been very quiet all morning, but things are starting to change. The wind's picked up, we've got a nice breeze on the lake now, but it has changed from yesterday. Yesterday it was blowing a southwesterly coming into my corner, and today it's switched round to a northeasterly. Now I've seen a lot of fish showing on the far margin on the opposite side of the lake. So, you know, I was already sitting here thinking, shall I move? But I changed the left two rods this morning. I switched them over onto solid bags. You know, I've got more confidence in solid bags. I've ditched the bait boat, switched over onto solid bags, put some bait in, and it hasn't been very long at all, and I've had a bite. Unfortunately, the fish made it to the reeds. It didn't cut me off or anything. It just did the hook in the reeds basically. So I'm a little bit gutted about that, and my tail is between my legs at the moment, let's put it that way. Hopefully, you know, things change for the better, because at the moment I'm feeling rather unlucky. The guy on the opposite side as well, to put rub salt into the wound, he turned up this morning and had a fish like within 20 minutes of casting out, a nice 21 pounder, which is good for him. But you know, when I've been sat here since yesterday, had nothing, and I lost one off the surface, and now I've just lost another one. Oh me, dear me, this is not what I expected coming back after all that time being sitting at home. Hopefully, you know, we can make it better, and put things right. If anything, I'm more confident now. Switched over to the solid bags. I've certainly had a response to that anyway. But I do think majority of the fish are on that far margin at the moment. But Tony has given me permission to boat a rod over there if I want to, so that could be an option. What I could do is I could just boat one rod over there, and if I get a bite, you know, it kind of indicates it's worth moving round. But for the moment, I'm just going to sit on things how they are. I'll probably will end up boating a rod over there just to see, because I've not done anything with that margin rod. I've just left it there. I did commit to that yesterday. I put quite a bit of bait on that. And you know, I think it's worth sitting on that. And if anything, you know, yesterday I was seeing a lot more fish. I mean, fair enough, it was a lot warmer yesterday and the fish was on the surface, so I could see them. But they're just not coming past me. Yesterday there was to and from, you know, past these lily pads in front of me, and I haven't seen any pass through today. So, you know, it's not all downhearted, so to speak of, and I am going to try and make amends. But I just thought that I needed to speak to you guys, because I've sat here for long enough and not given you an update. If anything, I'd have liked to have been doing a fish picture, that's for sure. Oh, there's one just showed out in the middle there. Well, anyway, I'm going to leave it there and we'll have a bit of a catch up shortly. Well, I'm trying to be quick because the sun is intermittent at the minute, but we've finally got one at last. It's taken me a while to get off the mark, and as you can see, I'm a very happy boy right now. He's not a monster, but he's a good size for in this water. He's just gone 18 pound 2, and he's a beautiful looking mirror. Just check this out. Oh, he's bristling up. Don't like being held, but just check him out. That's the thing I love about this place. They're all absolute scaly bangers. Oh yeah, thank you very much. And switching over to my old faithful solid bag as well. I just can't beat that. Everywhere I take a solid bag, it always catches for me. And my back was against the wall, and I'll be honest, I was beginning to question my own sanity. So, you know, if in doubt, get a bag out. That's the moral of this capture anyway. Anyway, I'm waffling on. I'm gonna get this fella back and see if we can't make something else happen. Well, here we go, the solid bag does it again. It hasn't been too long since I just slipped that other one back. If anything, we're losing the light now. But if in doubt, you know, a massive edge, start cooking your tea, sit down to eat it, and the rod goes into meltdown. Whee! Massive edge that, you want to try it sometime. The only thing is you've got to bring enough food to keep the bites coming. Anyway, all joking aside, it is an absolute lovely fish, and it looks like it's been eating the pies. It's got a right belly on it. It's just gone £20 and 8 ounces. Just check this out. And there you go, look. He's been packing some weight on this one. Short, he's nearly as fat as he is wide. Oh yeah, lovely. I'll just spin him round. And there's the other side. I quite like him. Short and fat, just like my missus. Well, as you can see, darkness has just set in now. I've had to get the lighting equipment out. I'm sorry I didn't have time to speak to you before the darkness kicked in, but you know, after having the last fish and then get everything sorted for tonight, you know, I just haven't had chance. And then the rod went off, so you know, I quickly rushed to get that rod back out before it got dark. But we've got another lovely looking mirror over the magical £20 barrier again. He's only a little bit bigger than the last fish, but he is bigger. £20 10 ounce this one. Absolutely lovely. And I tell you what, he really gave a good account of himself. He run me ragged, he did. At one point he flat rodded me. It was a really good battle. And there you go, look. I just hope this lighting's doing it justice. And he's come to the solid bag again, the LM94. Oh, plenty of pellets in the bag. I'll touch on everything in a bit more detail. We'll have a bit of a catch up before I turn in for the night anyway. And there's the other side, look. He's angry, sticking his dorsal up. I don't know if you can see the little starburst scales that's on it. I'm not quite sure because all I can see is the little screen. And from what I'm looking at, it doesn't look like it. But I can assure you there's some lovely little starburst scales on this. He really is a character. Quite distinctive. You'd know if you caught him again. Anyway, I'm going to slip him back. Well, good evening, and I'm sitting here now feeling rather positive about today. And to think it started off really bad, you know, after losing that fish and, you know, a very unproductive first 24 hours. I could have quite have easily sat here and thought to myself, the fish are just not having it, they're not in the mood, they're not feeding properly. But you know, I kept ringing the changes, and I am so glad I switched over to solid bags. In hindsight, I wished I'd have done that to begin with, but the reason I didn't is because I knew I didn't have enough bag mix to last me the session. You know, with this coronavirus and that, I haven't been able to get the bits and bobs what I needed from the tackle shop. However, but we're just going to have to adapt. I've just used some of Tony's pellets now because I've used what I did bring with me. That's all gone now. So I've used some of Tony's feed pellets. The good thing with them is they break down very, very quickly. So I've heavily glugged them in the LM94 food syrup. And I've also put some 2mm isolate pellets in there. Now they're a harder pellet and they're a slow breakdown pellet. They're actually a halibut based pellet, so you know they do break down a lot slower. So come the morning, them pellets should be good to go. I have put some boilie crumb in there as well. I mean, you wouldn't really think it'd make that much of a difference that it has. I mean, I started off using the bait belt, you know, dropping small parcels of bait, albeit a lot different to a solid bag, but it is the same bait that I've been putting out there from the get-go. And the fact that I didn't have a bite for the first 24 hours or so, or whatever it was, you know, it says a lot that solid bags, they are such a massive edge. Well, I've actually managed to get through quite a bit of bait now. I reckon I've put out about 6 or 7 kilos in total now. But you know, I'm not worried. I've got plenty of bait with me, as I mentioned at the beginning, and I'm just going to keep feeding to the bites now. What I will do in the morning when it's a bit lighter, or at some point tomorrow, I'll show you the rigs in a bit more detail. I'll show you what I started with and what I'm using now. I mean, it's no different to any other video that you've seen where I'm using solid bags. It's the same rigs. Why change something if it's not broken? It's a very, very good rig, that. But I will show you what I started off with, just so you can sort of see, you know, what changes I've made and what difference it's made to the session, because I really do think it has made the session now. Hopefully we can capitalise on that and keep them fish coming. But if anything as well, the fish have been a good stamp. That is a good stamp of fish in here. Good stamp of fish. That is a good stamp of size of fish for in here. Yes, last time I come I did get plagued by a lot of them smaller fish, and I'm really pleased I haven't had one of them yet. Anyway, I am going to leave it there. I'm going to get nice and snug in my sleeping bag now, with the plan to get up nice and early again. I'll be looking to get up around 4 o'clock, unless one of them alarms goes off before that. So yes, we shall have a catch up in the morning.
I choose to think positively, no matter what's going on around me. I have a great life, and will continue to have a great life. Every breath I inhale, I feel confident.
Good morning, and what a beautiful morning it is too. It's very, very pleasant now. However, it's not been like that, let me tell you. I was awoken by the right hand rod going off this morning, just gone 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was absolutely freezing. I was shivering like mad playing that fish in, and it's turned out to be a lovely fish. I've not weighed it yet. It's the fish that's down there sitting in the retainer. It looks sort of like a high double, maybe scraper 20, but he's a lovely scaly mirror again. And then about 10 minutes ago, the reed rod went off, and I've landed one of the smaller stockfish on that. He's sitting in the net at the moment. I'm just going to slip him back. I'm not going to bother doing any pictures of that one. But I just thought I'd bring you up to speed. So yes, all is positive. It's looking good. I've banged out some more bait on the left hand reed line, and I've also put some more bait over the right hand rod as well. So fingers crossed it's going to be a good day. I mean, to say how cold it was this morning, it's actually looking lovely at the minute. A nice clear blue sky, the sun's coming up nicely, and I can feel that heat. It's already starting to feel nice. It's not forecast though, this weather. It is meant to be cold today with intermittent. We're meant to get some cloud cover with a bit of rain, and it did rain a bit last night, through the night as well. So I'm not too sure how it's going to pan out yet. I'll probably have another look on the weather app and see if anything's changed. But at the moment, it looks set to be a nice day. So yes, I'm going to stop waffling on. I'm going to get these fish sorted out, and I shall be seeing you on the mat. Well, he is lovely, this one. He's actually quite dark, and he's just gone £19 on the dot. Not quite the £20 mark, but I knew it was going to be close. And there we go, look. I hope you can see that alright, because I'm struggling to see the screen with this sunlight. But it's better than having intermittent, you know, because that makes it very hard work when it comes to filming. But he's lovely, and I'm made up. The session's turned around now, 6 fish, and it can only get better. I've got to prep some bait, so, you know, I'll go through things in a bit more detail. We'll sit down and go through the rigs, and I'll show you the bait as I'm knocking it up. Although, you know, it's pretty simple, it's straightforward. But for some people, they do like to know what goes in it. Oh, and that's the better side in my opinion. Not half bad, not half bad. We can only keep our fingers crossed for one of them originals. I don't know if I mentioned this, but on the first day when I turned up and I could see them all over the surface, I did see a couple of originals in the mix, and there was definitely 30-pounders, and one of them I recognised as well, the split tail common. So fingers crossed we get one of them before we go. Although last time I was here, you know, that was what I was hoping for then. And I caught one of the originals and didn't even realise it until I'd got home and sent Tony the pictures. So, you know, maybe it's that 20-pounder that I had earlier could be one, because it didn't have very many scales on it, that, so there's a possibility that could be an original. But, you know, you just like to think that all the originals are bigger, so you don't even think about it. Anyway, I'm waffling on. Let's get this little fella back and see if we can't make something else happen. Right, so I'm just about to prepare another batch of bait. I'm not going to do as much this time because I've only got a night left at my disposal. But as you can see, we've absolutely emptied that bucket now. There's probably a couple of spods worth in there, so I need to get some more grub out there, so I'd best get some prepped up ready. And I'm going to start with, this is a 3 kilo bag of the LM94. These are the 15 mils. I'm not going to put all this in because, like I mentioned, I don't think I'm going to need them all. So I'm going to go in with half of this, and then I'm going to put two kilos of the 10 millers, and then finish it off with the feed pellets that I got from Tony. And that's roughly about 2 kilo of pellets I've just put in there, and then I'm just going to finish it off with the LM94 food syrup. And these pellets break down very quickly, like I've mentioned, so they'll soften up, and not only that, they'll absorb all this liquid as well, which will help me, you know, it'll aid me getting that down to the lake bed. And there we go, simple as that, straight off the shelf, into the bucket, job's a good un. Well, we're just gone past tea time now, and it's been very frustrating today, I'm not gonna lie. I've not really seen anything to go on. The weather's been all over the place. 1 minute it's overcast, next minute it's bright sunshine. But the thing that's making it tricky is I'm not really seeing anything to go on. However, things have changed within like the last hour or so. We've lost the cloud cover and the sun's out, and I start to see the odd carp, you know, cruising across the surface now. So, you know, it is looking up. I've been trickling out a few dog biscuits, but it's very hard to get any sort of response from them because there's only like 1 or 2 drifting about at the moment. Yeah, I mean, the odd one will come up and take one, but it's not enough to warrant casting out. I think if anything, you'd just put them off even more from having a go. So I'm going to persevere, keep trickling a few out, and should an opportunity arise, then I'll take that opportunity. But, you know, within the next hour or so, I am going to refresh the rods and get everything sorted, top up with a bit of bait. Going to stick to that reed line margin, and then I'm going to stick to the open water, and then things have changed again today. But the 2 guys that was on have left today. Dave, who was next to me, he went home with a migraine about a couple of hours ago, but he only had the 2 fish. I don't know if that's just because he wasn't really in it, but he said he struggled. And then the guy opposite me, he packed up early this morning, and I think he finished on 4 fish, so he didn't do too bad, not at all really. You know, 24-hour session, 4 fish, not bad at all that. So that's my plan of attack really. I'm gonna sort the rods out, you know, bang a bit more bait out there, and then hopefully, you know, we get a bite before it gets dark. I mean, if yesterday's anything to go by, you know, it was sort of just on that last hour of darkness where we had a bite, and then first light this morning, but then very quiet in the daytime. But I am going tomorrow, so fingers crossed, you know, we get at least 1 more chance before we go home. That would be lovely. So yes, before I turn the camera off, I thought I'd just give you a quick run through the rigs. I know a lot of you like to see that kind of thing, and this is the rig that I started on. I've got a coated hook link there, with it stripped back where the putty is. That hook link is actually PB Products jelly wire. It's a really good material, that I quite favour that, especially when it comes to coated hook links. I mean, I use this one, and I also use the Nash skin link. That's pretty good as well. They're my 2 favourite coated hook links at the moment, just depending on what bottom I'm fishing over. But yeah, hook wise, I've got a size 6 wide gape on there. Hope you can see that. Yeah, and it's all pinned down that. I mean, underneath that blob of putty there's a BB shot. It's actually a pop-up rig, so it sits like that. And it's not that much different from my solid bag rig. This is why I thought I'd show you, because my solid bag rig, I mean, yes, it's shorter in size because it's got to go into a bag, and it's only 4 inches, but the principle of it is exactly the same. It's a size 6 wide gape, the same distance from the shot, you know, so it's popped up exactly the same, but the only difference is that's sitting inside a parcel of, you know, it's sitting inside a bag. So but when the fish comes along, it just sees a parcel of bait, and I believe that's what's made all the difference on this session. And really it's the same rig, just fished different, you know, so it, you know, a little change like that, I can't believe how much it's turned the session around. Just goes to show the power of solid bags. And the other thing that I've been doing, and it's sort of a confidence thing really, I know Tony, the feed pellet that he puts in are actually 11mm pellets, and they're quite big pellet, them feed pellets. They look a lot bigger than 11mm, let's put it that way. And the pellets that I've been feeding are 6mm, but you know, for my hook baits, what I have been doing is whittling down a 15mm LM94 into like a pellet shape. And you know, it just gives me that bit of extra confidence really. Whether or not that's made a difference to the actual getting bites, I don't know, because I've had bites on both the trim down and, you know, straight out the packet, so to speak of. So that's the technical side of it covered. You know, I do get a lot of messages from people asking me about rigs, and some people say to me, why don't you put them in the videos a lot more? And the real reason for that is I don't like telling people how to suck eggs. At the end of the day, they're both pretty simple rigs them. In fact, you can't get any simpler in my opinion. But you know, they've always served me well, them rigs. If anything, you know, they're my favourite go-to rigs. I mean, you know, you can take that shot off and the lump of putty off, and it works perfectly well as a wafter rig or a bottom bait rig. It's very versatile, that rig, and it is my preferred rig of choice at the moment, depending on what I'm fishing over or where I'm going. But you know, if I'm especially if I'm approaching a lake that I've not fished before, that's the first rig that comes out of the box most of the time. Right then, let's get these rods refreshed and sorted, and we'll have a bit of a catch up later on. Well, good evening, and that is my view for tonight. and I must admit I'm sitting here feeling rather hopeful. I'm as positive as I can be, although I've not seen a lot of action out there today, and it is a mill pond at the moment. I'm not so keen on it when there's no wind on the water. I think it makes them very reluctant to show. It's always nice to have a bit of wind on. It always gets them a bit more active. Especially on here. In fact, last time I was here I didn't see anything show when it was flat calm, but this time's different. I have seen, in the last half an hour, I've seen 2 or 3 fish show, so I am feeling positive, but I'm not seeing any signs of bubblers yet, and you'd think with it being flat calm like this you'd be seeing a few bubblers, but I'm not. But everything's gone out there nice, and I've done my best. So I'm sitting here pretty confident about what I've done. It's down to the fish now. I've just had a look at the footage of the last fish that I had, and for some reason I said I was on 6 fish. God knows why, but I thought I was. But when I went to update my little notepad, I'm actually on 5 fish, not 6. So I'm a bit sorry about that. Not trying to, trying to add them on purpose, so to speak of. I'm not that desperate. Although I would like another one. Well, I've got plenty of solid bags made up. So should anything happen, I can get straight back out there. Just quickly wrap it up, bag on, straight back out there. I've not gone too heavy on the bait. And I have stuck to the open water spot as well tonight, and again I'm on that left hand reed margin, but my right hand rod, I've belted it right over to the other side of the lake on that reed line over there. That's where they were showing the other day, and I did pick one off of there this morning, so fingers crossed. I've done all I can. It's down to the carp. Come on, the carp gods. It'd be lovely if one of them rods just picked up now and rattled off while the camera was rolling. Because I am expecting something to happen, I must admit. Even though I'm not seeing signs of feeding, now is the time I'd expect a bite. And then first light, anywhere sort of between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning. That tends to be when they're most active at the moment. If there was a bit of wind on now, you'd be seeing fish now. That's for definite. But anyhow, I'm going to stop waffling on, and hopefully you'll be seeing me very soon behind that mat. Well, good morning, and just look at that for a view. It looks lovely, although I would like to see a bit of chop on it. However, last night, that nothing materialised last night. It was really frustrating, if I'm being honest. I see the odd few fish show, like I mentioned last night, and I really thought that we was going to get one just into darkness, but it didn't materialise. So I got into bed about 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish. But then I was up again at 4 o'clock this morning, and when I went to look out across the lake, it was like pea soup out there. You couldn't see anything at all, and it was very cold. So I thought, stuff it, and got back into my bag. and then I got up at 6 o'clock this morning, and I was still surprised that nothing had happened, but by this time, you know, the sun was starting to break through and the mist was clearing and the odd few fish were starting to show. And then I think I just put the first cup of tea on, and then the right hand rod was away, so I've got a fish sitting in the net there. It's just gone 7 o'clock now, all the other lads are turning up. So yes, it's been a hard session this, but very, very enjoyable. I always enjoy the harder sessions better than the easy sessions. And the fish that I've got in the net, it looks sort of up a double. I'm guessing, sort of estimating around £18. But I shall see you very shortly and we'll have a look at that bad boy. Well, good morning, and what an angry little fella this is. He's just gone £16.6, and I actually took this fish off that far reed margin where I belted one over there, just in time really, just before the other anglers turned up. So nick one, pearl one, as they say. If you've got the option to move it, why not? That's what I say. And look at him, he's like a new penny, that one. Absolutely scale perfect. That is one thing with all the fish in here, they all are absolute scaly bangers. I think you'll agree. And there we go. It looks set to be quite a hot day today, so I have changed things on that rod. I've only got a few hours left before I go, but I put the deeper out there and I managed to find a few fish just 5 foot under the surface, so I've put a zig out on that rod, so we'll see if anything materialises on that. But for now, it's goodbye from this little fella. Let's get him back to his watery home, and I shall have a bit of a catch up with you in a bit. Mwah! Thank you very much. So that is it then, the house is down, everything's just about packed up. I've just got to reel them rods in. I have stayed a little bit longer than I wanted to, when really I knew there wasn't going to be a bite on the cards with the weather. Things are changing at the moment though, a bit of cloud cover's coming in, so it is looking promising for the guys that have arrived today. But I thoroughly enjoyed this session. You know, it has been a while since the last one, as it has been for everybody. All I've got to say is thank you, Boris. We really needed this, we really did. Let's just hope that we don't get any more outbreaks and a bit of normality continues as we start to get back to a proper lifestyle, so to speak of. I've got everything crossed. So yes, just before I go, I'll touch on what I've been doing for the past few hours. I persevered with the zig, I kept moving it about, you know. When I put the deeper out there, the fish was seeming to be about 5 foot under the surface, so that's what I went out there with. And I tried the reed line, I tried open water, but the fish are just very, very lethargic at the moment, and it wouldn't surprise me if they've got spawning on the brain as well. So you know, all in all, it's been a tough session, but it's been a good session. 6 fish, I can't complain at that, and at least I've only had one of the little shitters, so to speak of. You know, them fish really are coming through. It's not been long for they're all 20-pounders. We've been a tad unlucky in the fact that we haven't had one of them originals, but I do think it's a numbers game. You know, especially with the amount of new fish that are in here, I think they're used to eating them pellets on a regular basis and they're just beating them originals to it. But I tell you something, it's not going to be very long until somebody catches one of them surprises. There's a big mirror in here and everybody refers to it as Red October. I cannot wait to see the person that catches that fish. It's really going to put a smile on somebody's face, that. And I can't wait to see it neither. Now, I'm not too sure where I'm going next. I'd like it to be Bluebell, but you know, that place is absolutely rammed at the moment, and I really don't fancy my chances getting a swim on there. So I'm kind of thinking I might just ring up Paul at Grenville and get a session booked on there before he closes for spawning. But if not, I may even come back here. So, you know, keep watching, keep your eyes peeled. There's definitely something else on the cards before them fish spawn anyway. So that's it then. I'm going to stop waffling on. I'm going to leave you to go about your business. I'm going to get them rods in, and all I can say is thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.